I've been greatly looking forward to the time I could bring a shot to Africa. I love this continent, and
You have told us just how much you value the support of friends and family.
They lived where most of us could only dream, but serving inside Buckingham Palace wasn't what it seemed. Alleged secrets, hidden scandals, and shocking demands pushed some maids past their limits. Why did they finally walk away? The answers may stun you. Keep watching, and don't forget to subscribe. Everyone sees Buckingham Palace as a symbol of elegance, history, and royalty. From the outside, it sparkles with chandeliers, polished marble, and golden decor. But what if I told you that behind those gilded walls, life for the staff was nothing like a fairy tale? Former employees have shared accounts of rules so strict and pressure so heavy that even the most loyal maids began to question if the job was worth it. Anne Simmons, who spent more than a decade working inside the palace, described a world of silence, hierarchy, and discipline so intense it sometimes felt unbearable. And here's the shocking part. Many of these maids weren't just cleaning floors or dusting furniture. They were safeguarding centuries of royal tradition, where even the smallest mistake could have ripple effects that went far beyond the room they were working in. But what exactly were these hidden pressures? And why did some of them eventually decide to walk away from one of the most prestigious jobs in the world? The answers might not be what you expect. Inside Buckingham Palace, cleaning wasn't just a chore, it was almost ceremonial. Imagine folding a cloth in a specific way, wringing out a mop to an exact tension, or mixing cleaning solutions with precision as if every step was part of a recipe passed down for generations. Anne Simmons revealed that nothing was left to chance. Tools we take for granted in everyday households were banned outright. Wet wipes, completely forbidden. Steel wool, not allowed. Even common cleaning sprays were replaced with natural homemade mixtures of vinegar, lemon, and warm water. Why such extreme measures? The reasons were twofold. On a practical level, wipes clogged the palace's delicate plumbing system, and steel wool risked scratching priceless marble and stainless steel. But there was also a deeper meaning. It was about preserving history with sustainable practices and ensuring that nothing, not even a cleaning cloth, could compromise centuries of legacy. Think about it. Every sweep of a mop or polish of a counter wasn't just about tidiness. It was about maintaining the flawless image of the monarchy itself. A single smudge or misplaced item could carry consequences far beyond the walls of a room. But here's the question. How long can someone live under that kind of pressure, where even dusting feels like a royal ceremony? Working at Buckingham Palace wasn't just about rules. It was about living under invisible eyes, every second of every day. Staff moved quietly, anticipating needs before they were spoken. They knew that at any moment, a visitor, a senior aide, or even a member of the royal family might glance their way. That meant no mistakes, ever. Imagine the weight of that responsibility. You're polishing a priceless antique, and if you scrub a little too hard, you could damage a piece of history. You're arranging a table, and if something looks slightly out of place, it reflects poorly on the entire household. Anne described this environment as relentless. Even the simplest tasks demanded unwavering focus. Over time, vigilance became a survival skill. Every cloth folded, every mop stroke, every swipe of a surface wasn't just cleaning. It was a test of loyalty, skill, and respect for tradition. And yet, under this constant scrutiny, cracks sometimes began to show. Because no matter how disciplined you are, pressure always has a breaking point. And sometimes it boiled over in ways that shocked everyone. It happened one December night. Around 50 members of the palace staff gathered at a London bar for a Christmas party. After long, exhausting shifts, they finally had a chance to unwind, laugh, and enjoy themselves. But what started as a lighthearted celebration quickly spiraled out of control. Reports claim that one young housemaid lashed out, throwing a punch at a manager, smashing glasses, and causing chaos in the bar. Police were called. She was arrested for disorderly conduct and released the next evening after paying a penalty. On the surface, it looked like just another late-night scuffle. But to those who knew what life was like behind palace walls, it was a glimpse of something deeper. The unbearable pressure that staff lived under every day had spilled out into public. The palace moved swiftly. Officials emphasized that this wasn't an official Christmas party and promised a full investigation, with disciplinary measures to follow. But for many watching, the incident exposed a hidden truth. Even the most polished institution in the world couldn't shield its employees from human exhaustion. If this was happening among staff, what about the senior figures inside the palace? As it turned out, they weren't immune to controversies either. At the very top of the royal household, one of the Queen's longest-serving aides found herself at the center of global headlines. Lady Susan Hussey had been a trusted figure since the 1960s, serving faithfully for decades. But at a palace reception, an interaction with a charity leader spiraled into controversy. Ngozi Fulani, a guest at the event, described Hussey's line of questioning as intrusive and uncomfortable. When the details went public, the reaction was swift. The palace issued statements, Hussey apologized, and she stepped down from her role almost immediately. What's striking here is not just the fallout, but the message it sent. Even those at the highest levels of palace service, people with decades of loyalty, could be swept away in a single night. It showed how fragile positions inside Buckingham Palace really were. And if someone like Lady Susan could lose her standing so quickly, imagine the uncertainty felt by the maids and staff working under constant observation every day. But the pressures weren't only about etiquette or appearances. They also reached into the palace kitchens, where rules were just as strict, if not stricter. Now, let's step into the palace kitchen. You might picture chefs experimenting with flavors and plating dishes like works of art. But inside Buckingham Palace, it wasn't about creativity, it was about tradition, precision, and discipline. Darren McGrady, a former royal chef, revealed how different this kitchen was. Ingredients were often sourced directly from royal estates: fresh berries, vegetables, river salmon, and even venison. These weren't just meals, they were symbols of the Queen's connection to her land and heritage. But certain ingredients were completely banned. Garlic, for example, never appeared in royal dishes. Why? Its strong smell was considered inappropriate for palace dining. That meant chefs had to hold back their personal preferences and follow rules that sometimes seemed unusual. Even plating had to be flawless. A garnish slightly off-center or an uneven portion wasn't seen as a small mistake. It was seen as carelessness. Chefs worked with the same precision as maids, knowing that every dish reflected not just on them, but on the institution itself. This culture of control wasn't limited to the kitchen. It ran through every corridor of the palace. But here's the twist. The rewards for such dedication weren't nearly as glamorous as outsiders might imagine. For all the prestige of working at Buckingham Palace, the pay was shockingly low. A job posting for a live-in housekeeper revealed an hourly rate of just £7.97. That's less than what many ordinary jobs in London pay, despite the immense responsibilities of working inside a royal residence. The annual salary? Around £19,900. Accommodation and meals were included, along with a pension contribution. But critics argued that the wage was far from fair considering the workload and pressures. The palace responded by saying the hourly figure was an error and insisted that the overall package was competitive. Still, for many, the numbers told a different story. Think about it. You're maintaining priceless antiques, preserving centuries-old traditions, living under constant scrutiny, and yet your pay doesn't reflect the weight of those responsibilities. For many maids, this wasn't just a job that paid little. It was a job that demanded everything. And when combined with the strict rules of palace life, it became clear why some decided to leave. Former chef Darren McGrady once described Buckingham Palace as a self-contained village. And he meant that literally. Staff didn't just work there, they lived there too. The palace was divided by strict rules. Male and female staff lived in separate wings. Each group had designated floors, one for maids, another for footmen, another for kitchen staff. Crossing into the wrong area without permission was forbidden. It wasn't just about organization, it was about discipline. Every movement was controlled, every hallway had its own rhythm and routine. And for those who lived within the walls, there was no true separation between work and personal life. Even off-duty, staff were expected to carry themselves with professionalism and discretion. Meals were provided, rooms were assigned. But in return, employees gave up much of their independence. They lived in a world where hierarchy ruled and where tradition wasn't just respected, it was enforced. For some, the privilege of serving inside the palace was worth it. But for others, the constant discipline and lack of freedom became too much to handle. So why did some maids leave? It wasn't just the pay, though that was part of it. It wasn't just the endless cleaning rituals, though those were exhausting. And it wasn't even just the long hours or constant observation. It was the combination of all these pressures, living inside a rigid system, following strict traditions, sacrificing personal freedom, and knowing that no mistake was ever too small. Anne Simmons' stories painted a vivid picture of what this life was really like. She described it as a delicate balancing act: speed and perfection, discipline and exhaustion, prestige and sacrifice. And for some maids, the scales eventually tipped. Walking away wasn't about rejecting history or disrespecting tradition. It was about reclaiming balance, freedom, and peace of mind. Buckingham Palace will always be a symbol of grandeur, tradition, and history. But behind the glittering facade, it's also a place where staff live under relentless pressure. Strict rules, and expectations that few outsiders can truly imagine. The truth is, not everyone could endure it. Some left quietly, others found themselves caught in controversy. But together, their stories reveal a side of royal life that rarely makes it into the tourist brochures. And now the big question. If you had the chance to work inside Buckingham Palace, would you take it? Would the prestige and history be worth the pressure, the low pay, and the constant scrutiny? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. And if you think these rules were strict, wait until you hear what royal chefs had to give up just to serve the Queen. Click on the next video, and let's uncover even more secrets behind the palace doors.